everybody, Jordan here, and today we've got another video for you guys, and today we've got a Concorde.
Droop Snoot.
Quite frankly, this video was delayed by a good hour because two idiots decided to mess around with the server before I started. Hopefully we don't have any conflicts now. Anyway, today we have the Concorde, since quite frankly I've run out of complete things to make videos on at this point.
I have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Very soon you'll find out why you haven't seen a lot of Minecraft videos, but as for now, there's not a lot. So, to begin with, we have Concorde, which, as we all know, is not in service anymore because it got flipping wrecked.
French, aérospatial.
Okay, so at the front of the aircraft we have the nose of the Concorde, which as we all know is very sharp aerodynamically, and as you can probably see, yeah, you can't see through the windows because it's supposed to be a very sharp angle. And guess what? You can't do that with glass blocks. We have the door, which is significantly far back from the flight deck. We have the nose gear of the aircraft, which as well is very far back from the nose of the aircraft. It's amazing how they parked this thing with the gear this far back. Okay, so over here we are at the root of the wing. As you can see, it's a little weird as it slopes down a little bit, but we have the delta wing formation right here. On the other side of the wing we have the Rolls-Royce Olympus 593 engines, which were solely built for the Concorde, which were insanely powerful. Unfortunately only 67 of these were ever built, so we have the landing gear of the aircraft down here, which is pretty interesting because as you can see it's very tall compared to that. Also, you can see how definitely close it is to the fuel tank and everything. You know, nudge nudge. At the aft of the aircraft we have like a tail strike prevention little landing gear right here. It's this little wheel that stops you from scraping the tail. That's really all what it is. Now what was pretty interesting was that on the vertical stabilizer of the Concorde, it was not symmetrical, so on one side it's significantly different than the other side, and we have that model because we're good at the game. Here's the top-down view of the engines, which look pretty hot if you ask me. One of the best engines we've made. Okay, on board the aircraft, you can see it's not very large, but it is pretty nice. We have mostly the same seating throughout the entire cabin, which is like, you can call it, it's like economy seats, but for some reason everybody called it royalty, even though it's literal economy seats. So, flight deck, we have the flight engineer station right here, as well as the very intimidating cockpit for the captain first officer. There's a lot of buttons, dials, and switches, and quite frankly, if you're an idiot like me that likes to fly with glass cockpits, then this is your worst nightmare. We have the yokes right here, throttle quadrant, yoke again. Now the thing is, Concorde did not use yokes like these. They use yokes similar, to Embraer. So okay, we can start the liveries. So here's basically the house livery during the initial first flights and test flights of the Concorde. This was also the livery used during the world tours of the aircraft, and yeah, there's no good point in me showing the interior as it's the exact same as the other one you just saw, but however, I think it's a really good representation of how far we've come in terms of house liveries for aircraft. I mean, compare the Concorde house livery to, I don't know, maybe the 787 house livery. I don't know. Next up, we have the Pepsi livery for Concorde. Quite frankly, this is the only reason I wanted to make this video, was so I could add some Michael Jackson cutscene or something. In case you didn't know about it, Air France partnered with Pepsi for a short period of time in the 90s. They painted the entire Concorde blue. It did have some performance changes due to the added weight and stuff. Overall, in my opinion, one of the coolest liveries to ever fly. It also states Pepsi on the wings, which I thought is pretty dank if you ask me. I mean, if you ever wonder why I prefer Pepsi over Coke, I mean, which one was on Concorde? Yeah, it also said Pepsi right here on the underside of the nose, which was pretty cool. Continuing on, we have the 1976 to 1984 British Airways livery, and British Airways had, I believe, 4 different liveries within their service with Concorde. This is the livery that was used during its initial years, if you will. Pretty hot tail right there for British Airways. I really wish they'd go back to something cool like this. As you can see, it's a relatively simple livery. It's just a blue line, states British or British Airways depending on the year of the livery, and it's just, you know, with a very cool tail design though. Interior is the exact same as you saw from the base liveries. So the next livery right here is one of my personal favorites. It's the 1985 to 1997 British Airways livery. You know, back when British Airways didn't have disgusting business classes? This livery saw the most years of service on Concorde with British Airways, which compared to the other liveries is pretty nice. I absolutely love the way British Airways made this livery. I mean, if they revert back to this livery now, there's no complaints from me at all. I mean, just look at that tail, it's so hot! And now we have the 1998 to 2003 livery for British Airways. It's not bad, but it's just it's not as glamorous as the previous one. So this is the final livery, which was flown for Concorde with British Airways. It's pretty much the exact same thing we have now, but yeah, it is like the same thing we have now. What am I talking about? So, yeah. Again, there's no real point in me showing the interior, as it's literally the exact same interior as these last two aircraft, and you already know what they look like, so yeah, let's not do that. Now, the next livery is the Air France older livery, which was when Air France initially took this aircraft into service. This is the livery they used for a little while. They got rid of it kind of quickly, though, and then they replaced it with their older version of their new livery. I'll explain it in a minute, but I think this is a very beautiful livery. It states Air France with the French flag right there. I love it's like, I love the fact that it, you know, it had a lot of color. I'm not saying I don't like the Air France livery now. I think the Air France livery currently looks great. However, I just love the amount of color they used with this. Anyway, and what do you know? The interior is the exact same once again. Anyway, continuing on, we have the older version of the newer Air France livery. That doesn't make any sense. In case you haven't noticed, Air France's livery that is currently on aircraft such as the 787 is a slight modification from the older Air France liveries like this one, so yeah. It states Air France right there, and it has the colors representing the French flag on the stabilizer right there. It also has some stars and a circle at the stabilizer. That's what the buttons are supposed to represent. There's not many details on this, and as you can bet, most of the Concordes were painted white for weight savings, which is something you really want on a supersonic airliner. And my god, that's a hot shot. Oh my, that's a screeny right there. I've not said that in a long time. If you remember me using the phrase, that's a screeny right there, comment down below, because you're a true JCTV, you know, viewer. Next livery we have right here is Braniff International, livery by Taxiway Miles and I. In case you didn't notice, Braniff actually operated some flights under a code share of different airlines, and Braniff was intending to take some Concordes into service. However, as we all know, that really didn't go far. I'm very curious to see what Braniff would have done, because they did propose this as a livery, but as we all know, Braniff also painted their entire aircraft a solid color, which, again, for supersonic airliner, it's not necessarily the smartest choice. However, unfortunately, we did not get to see these predominantly in service, so that's a sad thing right there. But it does state Braniff right there on the fuselage with a orangish stripe down the fuselage, and it just states BI or Braniff International on the stabilizer. On the interior of the aircraft, it's the first interior that's actually different. It's like a brownish color, if you will. Brown wall frames and then more brown seats, you know, 70s airplane, whatever. Another thing I'd like to mention, they also would have painted the wingtips their certain color, which I thought is pretty cool. Our next livery right here is Singapore Airlines, and this livery has a very interesting backstory with Concorde for how its service was used. In case you didn't know, Singapore Airlines, yes, in fact, did technically have their livery fly on Concorde. However, only half the aircraft was painted in Singapore Airlines cover. The other side of the aircraft was painted in British Airways, which, as we have, you know, right here. This is British Airways right here. This aircraft only flew for about 16 months doing routes such as London to Singapore, London to Dubai and stuff before noise pollution regulations were really put in place, and things of the sonic boom over regions of India kind of prevented this thing from really getting off the ground. But other than that, very interesting history for this livery. Didn't see much service, but the fact that there was a livery besides the traditional Air France and British Airways, that's pretty hot. Our final livery for today is the Concorde with its nose lowered, or the droop snoot.
Droop snoot. Droop snoot. Droop snoot. Droop snoot. Snoot. Droop snoot. Droop snoot.
Due to Concorde's high angle of attack on landing, it's very difficult to see, so the engineers said, let's lower the nose, and it worked. It's very interesting how the Concorde nose lowers. It slides down and slides back up, but so we modeled that for the aircraft just because we wanted to be cool kids, and yeah. This is the British Airways livery, as you guessed it, and the livery I like the most, and there's literally nothing else different about it except the fact that the nose is down, so yeah. That's a thing. Anyway, that is pretty much all we have for today. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Smack that like button for more Minecraft madness. I'd like to apologize for not uploading any Minecraft content for a long time because stuff is going on, if you will. You'll find out about it later. as of now, prepare for more flight sim and more IRL trips, because quite frankly, I have a lot of footage of that, and I'm kind of like, you know what, Jordan? You might as well clean out your hard drive. And I keep telling myself, you know what, Jordan? You might as well just clean out your hard drive, because this footage is... wow. To put in perspective what I'm talking about, that charter flight I just uploaded, that was a good year ago, and I still have tons of footage that I just don't upload. So I might as well. Anyway, I'm Jordan. If you have any suggestions for Livery of the Week is not dead. It's just that the planes we use, they're being tweaked. We'll just say that. Anyway, sorry for rambling on and on, but if you've enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, smack the like button, and I will see you in the next episode. I'm Jordan. Thanks for watching. Get for you.